Welcome, listeners, to another night of transcendent mystery and intrigue on the Vox waves of the unknown.
That's right, Gobbo. Tonight we peel back the very fabric of reason and stare deep into the shadows, exploring the unexplained and the extraordinary. From the darkest corners of the Administratum's dustiest records to secrets written across the face of the universe, we are your guides on this journey of discovery.
So dim your glow globes, gather around, and open your minds to the possibilities that await. We are 665.66 UHMR Chemrat Radio, and tonight, true adventure awaits. As always, I am your ghoulish Grandmaster of Ceremonies, Goblin King, joined today by my cohorts on the mystical vision quest of madness and mayhem, the necro-death synthwave scream queen, Emmy.
Hello, everyone.
The purveyor of all things that need to be in my collection, not in a museum, the archaeotech hunter, Chac.
Hold on, I need to find my whip. My electro whip.
Jumping into the dirty stuff pretty fast, man. And the sultan of sanitation, scrubber of viscera gore and haunted toilets, it's Drew.
Hey, thanks for having me. What can I say? Cleaning fluids are an art in and of themselves, so.
Getting into the nitty and gritty of the underhive.
That's right.
Not just an art, it's a passion.
If you can get the stains out, that's a good job. That's a good job.
Does Myrtle stop coming back when you get the stains out?
No, you can never get rid of that.
Welcome to Lorus Obscurus, episode 16, Men in Black. And oh boy, is this a big one, and our first step into the world of UFOs, aliens, and all of the other aspects of high strangeness. While they've been around long enough to inspire conspiracy theories, multiple sightings, video game characters, and even a summer blockbuster franchise of 4 movies at this point, or 3 movies?
4. They have the
international. Yeah, international is 4. Okay. They are only one tip of the massive iceberg that makes up ufology, I would say. Or yeah, we're going to say ufology.
Yeah, that's the correct word.
However, before we get started, listeners, if you want access to hours of extra content, video podcasts, and more, you should head on over to patreon.com/Under the Hive of Madness right now and sign up for $3, $6, or $9. We'll be back a little bit later to talk about some of the other things we do through Patreon. Drew, we've got a custom here with Lorus Obscurus. And if this is your first night, as they say in Fight Club, you must fight. So we demand a story. We need a personal, spooky dookie experience. That's payment.
All right. Well, I am happy to give it. This goes back to the good old days of high school. So some friends of mine and I, we were, as one does, exploring what we called at the time the litany of insanity. We were in our teenage years. We were bored. We were not old enough to have half-decent jobs, but had access to suburban money and infrastructure. So a lot of unfinished basements and weird television programs that were on late at night. We would consume way too many hallucinogenics and watch music videos and then try not to sleep. And we would expose one another to the most extreme forms of media that we could find. We would make one another watch the most gut-wrenching and heartbreaking anime or whatever, read the strangest books. And it was out of this madness one night, my friends and I we were jotting things down and decided that, the numerology in exploring sort of like conspiracy theories and stuff, we thought that was really silly. So we thought we would make up our own fake website. And keep in mind, this is like 1998. Not a lot of stuff is being spread around on the internet. It was the Wild West. We opened a GeoCities website and we just started typing a bunch of nonsense. And we landed on like the number 212. I think this somehow involved us like dividing 666 by pi. The real number of evil that had real power was 212. We put this on the internet. we spent like a good like 4 hours coming up with this like at 4 a.m. after watching the Backstreet's Back music video one too many times. And then thought nothing of it for a few weeks. And then the graffiti started. There was a huge explosion in my neighborhood at the time of people writing 212 on various government institutions like courthouses and then like churches and then synagogues, and people started thinking it was like some like anti-Semitic hate attacks. To this day, we don't know if whomever was inspired by our very stupid website, but this has turned out to be a bit of a thing. Like 212 is a number that has recurred in my life over and over and over again. And it's kind of weird, man. I have no explanation for it. But if
I'm trying to find weird graffiti of 212.
That's what I've been doing too.
Yeah.
I've been trying to find, is there a conspiracy behind it? Is
like,
there...
so there was a rash of stuff, and I can't remember. And it was at the time, it was a thing. And it's a number for whatever it may be, just because it's a palindrome and it has some kind of like easy mnemonic to it. But like, it's just a thing that's used a lot.
Number.
Oh, it's an angel number. Oh, that's positive. I feel like that's a good sign, maybe. I don't know.
But I mean, that's numerology for you. You literally like, I mean, you were being super tongue in cheek with it, right? So you were like, let's make something that isn't a thing, and then that's chaos magic, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You manifested some shit.
We manifested it. Yeah, some dark stuff in the universe. So here we are.
So it reoccurred several times throughout your life, like up until now.
I just hear like news stories and stuff like that. It was just it's weird. It's just shown up here and there and everywhere. And I don't know, maybe because I'm looking for it. I kind of feel like if anyone knows about the 1111 people, like that's like a similar thing. Like people are like, oh, like the 1111, like just stuff happens at 1111. You know,
you make wishes at 11.
You make wishes at 1111. Yeah, there's all this. You know, it's just one of those things. It's like maybe that's just because I'm looking for it. You know.
Well, there was the number 23, which they made into a movie, but that's another one of those numbers that are supposed to be.
Isn't that a Scientology number? No, that's
it was just supposed to be a reoccurring number.
That's Knowing. Knowing is the Scientology film. The number 23 is the Jim Carrey one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, that's the Jim Carrey.
But I think that was actually based on the 23 Enigma.
Yeah.
One of my favorite like evil number things was in the movie. Oh crap! The Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he fights the devil.
Oh, oh no, God.
Crap! What's that movie called?
Really bad.
There's literally the sequence of him and Sarah Connor and John Connor in the elevator, but they're in a subway car instead, and instead of T-1000 it's Lucifer, and it's literally him pointing the shotgun. I'm like, this is the same scene, dude. It's not See No Evil.
End of Days.
Yeah, in End of Days they're like the number 999 keeps showing up, and somebody's like, well, of course 999 is the number of the devil, because Saint Peter was crucified upside down and he saw the number upside down, so 666 inverted is 999. And I was like, that's clever lore building right there. That's like a little tweak,
the other twist. One is the suggestion reason why it's 999. You'll hear this in other places as well, is that because it's supposed to be a dream vision, and in dreams
everything's
numbers
inverted.
Appear upside down and backwards.
Interesting.
It's not true, but it's a nice story.
I think for most people, they can't actually read anything in dreams.
In dreams, yeah.
And one of the things that we've come back to a lot, especially when we talk with Lorus Obscurus and we get into like cryptids and we get into like weird phenomenon and ghosts and all this spooky dooky stuff, is our minds are primed to see patterns. Pattern recognition is a very, very human thing. It's something that our brains like seek out. So that's why we see patterns and everything. That's why you see a face when you look at a blurry picture of Mars. It's why people keep saying the mountain range in Antarctica is a pyramid, even though it looks nothing like a pyramid. Like, it's just pattern recognition.
I read a study recently where people were, there was a test group and a control group, and one group was given a professor's lecture at a very low volume, and they were like, okay, this lecture got recorded wrong, very low gain on the mic. Can you guys just write down what he's saying? So one group has this professor's lecture at just a very low volume, and they're trying to transcribe it. The other group is just given white noise, and they're told this was a professor's lecture that got misrecorded. Can you guys write down what he's saying? And both groups just start writing down words and just writing down speech. Where one group was just given white noise, they're writing down combinations of words, and they really do think that there is some type of lecture that they're hearing. And
That's
it's
crazy.
like you'll just pull anything out of your butt because you have to have a pattern.
That's insane. That's that stuff like that is always super interesting to me. I mean, what are the character in The Watchmen? His name is the test. Rorschach tests, where you look at like ink blots, like mirrored ink blots, and you're supposed to tell the person that's interviewing you what they look like. And I'll tell you right off the bat, and maybe this comes from what I do as my day job, being working in the toy industry. Almost every single one of them looks like a butterfly or a moth. they all, to me, they all look like butterflies or moths. I don't know what that says about me, but it's always funny to like watch people take those and they're like, oh, it's a man murdering a woman. Oh, it's a pair of boobies. Oh, it's a chainsaw. I'm like, the butterfly, but none of these look different, guys.
It's a lot better about you than what it says to me when I see the same thing in every one of them.
Do you see?
And it's
do you
not
not
an
see
orchid, but it's related. So we're just going to leave that there.
It's the bilateral symmetry. It is the vertical bilateral symmetry, right? That is a thing that will remind you of a thing
that has bilateral symmetry. Yeah,
that has bilateral symmetry that stands out in your mind. Yeah.
Yes, which I said, which does not say good things about me.
I don't know if I should have said that. Freud would have things to say about it. That's for sure.
So sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
We talked about this last time. We talked about the fact that part of my like art upbringing is there were paintings of Vargas in the house when I was a kid, because my parents are both art lovers. There were also a lot of portraits of orchids. And a lot of portraits of orchids, especially from the 60s and 70s, were done to evoke specific imagery in the male mind.
Like Georgia O'Keeffe stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been to the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, by the way, in New Mexico.
Oh, yeah. It's lovely.
I also have a
lot
really,
of orchids.
a lot of orchids. I also have a really good art friend who literally went through a blue penis phase. And this is somebody who sells out galleries in places like New York and LA. Literally for almost 15 years of their life, everything they painted was a blue penis. So I mean, like, it happens. And people buy it. I mean,
why not?
So I looked up the number 23 because I remember being Jim Carrey, and I want corporate would like everybody in the podcast to tell them the difference between these two photos. Okay, so here's the first photo and here's the second photo. Now corporate thinks these are the same images. I just think it's funny. Like, I realize what they were going for with the number 23, but it literally just made me think of the pen is red scene in fucking Liar, where he writes blue all over his face. It's just, Jim Carrey was not primed in my young pre-adulthood to be a dramatic actor in any way, shape, or form.
I really do not like most of his movies. I just do not like his sense of humor. Except I do like The Grinch. So, but that's probably because it's a costume movie, and because he always plays a costume weird person, even when he's not, if he's doing his comedy thing. So it just works for me when he's wearing the costume and the makeup. Although the mask did not work, because that was not a good movie.
I think it still entirely blows my mind that little Lucy Liu is Taylor Mason from The Pretty Reckless. Like, the fact that those two people are like, because in my mind, as an adult, when The Grinch came out, that is a little child. And as somebody who consumes metal music when the Pretty Reckless rose to fame 10 years ago, that was not a child. I was like, those are the same people. What is happening?
People grow up.
I know, but they're not supposed to. They're supposed to stay the way they are in the film they were in. So kind of on your experience with making your website, when we were in late high school, early college, so right around the same time, 80 and 98, 99, my group, I almost said 80. I almost aged myself another 10 years.
That would put you in my...
I know.
I graduated college in 89.
You're supposed to be the old guy. I'm not supposed to be the old guy. I saw my first concert in 89. We registered a website called they.com, and we just, in a move that way predated the television show Community and White Guy Says Twitter account that Troy's character, that Donald Glover's character run, we just, anything that somebody in college or late high school said, oh, they say, we just went to the website backend and we typed it in, and it was all it did. Every time you refreshed, it was just another quote from them. And because there was a time period, and I feel like a relatively long time period, where somebody would ask you a question and you would get a pearl of wisdom and you'd be like, oh, where did you hear that? Oh, I don't know. They say it. And we were like, who the fuck is they?
Yeah.
We know you heard it from somebody. Who is this elusive they? And nothing weird ever came directly from it. But the more in reflection to your story, the more I think about it, that was a really chaotic energy for us to put into the world. And it almost kind of like feedback looped into the whole idea of they say. And we probably, I mean, we owned it for like 10 years. I can't remember what happened. The guy who controlled the domain space sold it to a company that was like, oh, 4-letter domain. Yeah, we want that. It's probably like thermo high energy yield dynamics or something.com now. Who knows?
Donghua Jinlong glycine.
Oh, that's the good stuff.
Oh, yeah. There you go. That's like,
where do you guys get your industrial grade glycine from, by the way? If it's not Donghua Jinlong, then you're doing it wrong.
We're not supposed to talk about that on the podcast. Answering that question could get isolated by the men in black. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. It's going to end up in evidence in front of Congress someday. People going like, why suddenly are people on TikTok
searching for this really weird
opinions on industrial grade glycine?
So I'm on they.com, and there's some interesting stuff here. It is just we're just scrolling here, and it's just weird stuff. Like
this honestly
they have a message just for Gary. I don't know what this means. Gary, they are not out to get you. They promise.
Honestly looks a lot like what we did. I now wonder whether or not my buddy, whose name is Dave, by the way, so they say check the box, Dave. I wonder if my buddy Dave still owns it or owns it again.
They are certain that's exactly how we will do it, too.
Wow, this is pretty great. I love this.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Ladies and gentlemen, they.com, alive and well.
Check the box, Dave.
Check the box.
They are sick of being blamed. What's in the box? So,
okay, hold on.
Speaking of...
When did you register about that website?
Oh, like 96 or 97?
Maybe sometime around June 6th.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Is it still owned by this? Oh.
Yes. Just who is? Look up on it.
Nice. He said he sold it. We also had a friend.
All the names are redacted, but the dates.
Oh, that sounds about right. That sounds about the right. To tell you the truth, there were like 5 people involved, including me, and I would not be surprised if one person spoke up and said, "No, I want to keep it."
Aw, sweet.
Right.
We had a buddy in college whose name was Carrie Edwards. Like his first name was Carrie and his last name was Edwards, and the Carrie Edwards campaign bought his website, and it like made national news. It was fucking wild. They interviewed him, and I'm like, I know that guy.
Yeah, I remember that. That was wild. The Foo Fighters were opening for Carrie Edwards rallies, People, they did a whole campaign where they were like, your AIM screen name voted for Carrie and Edwards. And the Republicans thought that boycotting Heinz ketchup because John Kerry's wife owns some percentage of Heinz ketchup. So they tried to make like Conserva ketchup, and it was a time.
Is that like when everybody tried to change to Freedom Fries for some freaking reason?
It's like the Freedom Fries, but they tried to like make Republican ketchup. And then there was also some other company that was really butthurt because of Ben and Jerry's, soft penis effete liberal message that they made like conservative Ben and Jerry's as well.
Well, somebody tried to do the conservative beer because Bud Light did the can.
Of course.
There was a trans person who did an ad for.
It wasn't even an ad. They just did. It was like on social media.
Well, the funny thing is, one sponsored Instagram post.
Yeah.
The conservatives go nuts, and it's like every beer is conservative. It's like how every other month is straight pride. Like there's so many conservative beers, guys.
They're talking about Bud Light, and unless something has happened to Bud Light in the 25 years since I stopped drinking,
it's water.
It's like sex in a canoe.
It's water, man.
Yeah.
It's really easy. Bud Light, Corona, Miller Lite, all of those, they're really, really easy to drink when you're in the desert and you need to be drinking as much water as anything else. That's what they're for. I always thought it was weird when like I would order, it doesn't necessarily happen anymore, but when I would order like a bourbon or so, like a sweet bourbon or whatever, and like somebody would be like, well, real men drink Bud Light. And I was like, really, dude? Like, that's a weird opinion to have at this bar.
All the beers that you listed, right? They're all the same style of beer, which is a Czech Pils. And the whole point of a Czech Pils is that they are inoffensive. They're like, it's supposed to be the thing you drink every day. It's not supposed to be the thing that gets you drunk. And it's not supposed to be the really fine thing. It's supposed to be like, it's like Gatorade, right? That was sort of like the original idea.
It's not supposed to be the thing that gives you any enjoyment either.
Yeah, exactly. It's the thing that it gets the job done. And
well, it's the thing you can drink 24 of and still pretend to drive home.
So the Men in Black.
Yeah. Not that anybody should do that. Do not drink a 24 pack of anything and don't even drink a 24 pack of soda and attempt to drive home.
No, don't do that.
No, that's how you'll get a kidney infection. Sure.
You will be asked to leave Applebee's. Trust me.
Sir, this is a Wendy's drive-through. So over the last couple of episodes, we have introduced an Order Obscurus report right up top related to the topic that we're going to talk about, giving you guys an idea of how we would use modern folklore to inspire lore building in the Warhammer 40k universe. Don't worry, we're still doing that. We're just going to mix up the format a little bit. We're going to introduce the topic first, and then we're going to give you the Ordo Obscurus lore. So rather than hitting you with how we adapted the lore and then giving you context, we're going to give you the context and then show how we can adopt that idea into 40K. And this plays around with the creative writing concept that we talk about a lot, where it's borrowing what you know. When you're looking into creating mythos or lore or urban legends or anything weird and spooky, the stuff that falls into the SCP Foundation style writing, that is the way we set up Ordo Obscurus, looking at real world analogs is a good place to start. And this is just this is our illustration of how to do that. With that in mind, let's take a look at what the Men in Black are. In popular culture and UFO conspiracy theories, Men in Black, also called MIBs, are government agents dressed in black suits who question, interrogate, harass, threaten, allegedly memory ripe, and sometimes even assassinate witnesses to UFO phenomenon, all to keep the truth hidden from the public. The term can also be used to describe mysterious men working for unknown organizations or various branches of the government allegedly tasked with protecting secrets or performing other strange activities. In the popular video game Half-Life and Half-Life 2, as an example, Gordon Freeman has to deal with a character known as the G-Man several different times. The G-Man being kind of a prototypical visual of the Men in Black. And we'll get into what G-Man means and why G-Man and Men in Black are so intertwined later. But just to give you guys a reference point to popular culture.
Just like is it etymological how the words are used. So a single man in black is never a man in black. It's always men in black. It's just like you don't have big feet, you only have big foot. And you don't call a single person an MIB. That's only
MIBs is used for multiples.
Multiple, or the organization overall.
Right.
So a person isn't a MIB or an MIB. A person is from the Men in Black.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one. I know it's a little weird, but...
No, they talk about it in that last podcast on the left episode.
Yeah.
They get into it there as well.
Really specific terminology you're supposed to use when talking about all of this stuff, which is fun. It makes it's lore. This is we look at lore and lore building creative writing as being something that's dedicated towards speculative fiction, science fiction, and fantasy in general. The truth is a lot of lore, a lot of American folklore is lore. It's just as deep. It's just as developed. And a lot of conspiracy theory thoughts and a lot of ufology thoughts and a lot of stuff that kind of centers all around this. It's super interesting because it's developed just as deeply. It can also be dangerous because it's developed just as deeply, because unfortunately about 2 to 5% is true. And there's a potential that another like 15 or so percent could be true in some conspiracy theory thought, which makes it really easy to kind of like fall down rabbit holes and end up, you start researching Men in Black and you end up wondering how 3 gnomes ended up in the middle of the moon controlling the entire galactic empire and monetary system of the reptilians.
I can tell you all about the base in Dulce, New Mexico. I can tell you about everything that has supposedly gone on at Area 51 because I've gone down the whole what's his name?
Groom Lake, Nevada.
Yes, but who's the guy? Bob Lazar. I've gone through the whole Bob Lazar thing. I've done the secret underground bases. I've really gone down this rabbit hole pretty hard in the past. And one of the things that I like about this is I was talking to Ryan and Emmy last night is a game I used to play was Delta Green. And I just found out that it is still active today. And it still has a active subreddit. And that's all about basically this secret government organization that was founded in 1923 after the Navy had to had to fire torpedoes at a certain underwater location off of New England. So it ties them. The game ties the Men in Black. It's basically modern Call of Cthulhu with Men in Black, UFOs, aliens, reptilians, chaos worshippers, Cthulhu worshippers, the great unknown, and all that.
Yeah, we really starting with Mothman. That led, Mothman is the bridge between cryptids and the Men in Black. And the Men in Black is the tip of the iceberg of all of ufology. And ufology, in a lot of ways, realistically is the birth of modern conspiracy theory. And like this stuff is a lot more widespread than anybody ever actively thinks about. Project Monarch is the basis for the television show Stranger Things. Not only is Project Monarch the basis for the television Stranger Things, but the Monarch program is now a huge part of the Godzilla versus Kong universe. And Project Monarch's was a real thing and is not anything like, it is a lot more like Stranger Things than it is like Godzilla versus Kong. But at the same time, this is stuff that happened. We'll talk about the Majestic 12 probably at some point as we get deeper
Majestic,
and deeper.
you got to talk about
Yeah.
This is all of these it's Charlie Day in the basement explaining to Mac where Pepe Silva is with yarn all over the map because Charlie doesn't realize that it was just the word Pennsylvania. It's not a person.
And we also have to remember that the Men in Black are the U.S.'s, as in the U.S.'s government pet cryptid. Because that's the whole
this is a very American-centric idea.
Yeah.
And it goes back to G-Men. If you've ever seen, I can't remember the Public Enemies, which has Christian Bale and I think Johnny Depp in it because you need a double threat. I think there's another big name in there because we needed a triple threat movie. True crime in America is a very interesting thing. Before the major bank robbery run of the 1920s to the probably 40s, 1930s, 1940s era, the large bank robberies, the things that made the Chicago typewriter, the drum-fed Thompson, iconic in American criminal history. Before that happened, police departments didn't talk to each other, and there was really no organized federal law investigation. In fact, even the first forms of federal investigation were privatized with organizations like the Pinkerton Detective Services and stuff like that. The entire idea of these guys are going from city to city, not country to country, state to state, robbing different banks is the reason that government men got involved. And government men wore gray or black suits. And government men were usually armed with weapons that were one level above what the criminals were using. So when the government men, the G-men, showed up in their black suits, men in black, with stick-fed Thompson machine guns, just normal N1 Thompsons, to fight the bank robbers that were using revolvers, the bank robbers figured out how to get their hands on Thompsons. And then the G-men responded by coming out with the Browning automatic rifle, which was used in World War II to great effect as a very, very powerful portable machine gun. And there's a through line between that escalation of force and the fact that a lot of government agencies and a lot of police agencies today use military equipment to fight criminals, because it all stems back to this idea. And it doesn't, none of this had to do with oh, there's too many murders. This literally had to do with, oh no, they're stealing money. it took massive theft of money for the government to get involved. Even the Secret Service, we think of the Secret Service as being somebody who specifically exists to protect the ultimate Men in Black G-men, because all of their suits are black. We think of them as being the Secret Service's job is to protect the president. The Secret Service was founded because somebody attempted to kidnap Abraham Lincoln's body and ransom it back to the government. The Secret Service has two major jobs. The first is protecting the sanctity of the dollar. The second is protecting the president.
U.S.
Yeah.
One step further back, because the G-men came from the revenuers.
Yeah.
And what happened is that there was a tax. There were two things. When it started off, people were growing corn on one side of the Appalachia, and they had to get it to the coast to sell it. Well, it's really hard to transport corn, so they started off by feeding the corn to pigs, because pigs can walk to market. And then they found out, well, a better way to do this is to turn that corn into whiskey.
Corn liquor.
And they could transport whiskey. And the whole thing, we all think about prohibition and the revenuers and all that. No, they're called revenuers because they were out there trying to collect revenue, the taxes on the bootleg whiskey pre-prohibition and post-prohibition. And that's where that whole thing came from. It was the government men, the G-men, showing up unexpectedly to stop the moonshiners because they're evading taxes.
Yeah.
Well, they got Al Capone
on tax evasion.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the images that we associate so strongly with this sort of G-man, government man conspiracy, I think, originates a lot in Eliot Ness, right?
Yeah.
That particular sort of like both as he exists in factive sort of history and in fiction, you know.
Yeah, all FBI men wore, you know, the dark suits, except, of course, for the head of the FBI, and he wore a dress.
Of course. Absolutely.
No. He wore the suit. He just had panties on underneath. So yeah, and that's kind of the point. You know, the term is generic. It's used for nowadays. It's used for any unusual, threatening, or strangely behaving individual whose appearance on the scene can be linked to some sort of UFO sighting or UFO phenomenon. That's its major use nowadays. Men in Black are almost always associated in some way with UFOs.
Yeah.
Alleged encounters with Men in Black have been reported by UFO researchers and enthusiasts, not enthusiasts, and enthusiasts, with the MIB supposedly appearing throughout different moments in history. We talked about Indrid Cold as example in our Mothman episode, who in some cases is reported as being a Men in Black. Men in Black
makes a ton of sense. I remember this.
Yeah. Men in Black are connected deeply within ufology and modern UFO folklore. In the 1950s and 60s, ufologists adopted this conspiratorial mindset and began fearing they would be subject to organized intimidation and retaliation for discovering the truth about UFOs. Themes reflected later in the X-Files as Mulder and Scully interact with many figures who can be seen as Men in Black or MIBs. The big one is
Jose
I can't remember his
Chung
name.
from outer space.
Yeah. Well, what was the dude? The guy who had kind of a Russian name, like Korkov or
Krychek.
Krychek. And then eventually Krychek gets the black goo poured into his eyes. But Krychek always appears in a black suit. Like almost all. Mulder and Scully are always in black suits. And Mulder and Scully are specifically the people showing up to investigate.
Yeah.
I think this is a great segue because I was going to mention this earlier. I think what was sort of the entry point for ufology for a lot of people from my generation was one of two things: Unsolved Mysteries and the X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And I have stories about both.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it seared a lot of stuff into sort of the collective unconscious of the people at the time. And for me, I was thinking about when this topic was first mentioned to me, I was like thinking about the first time I heard the name Men in Black, specifically Men in Black, and that is in the episode Jose Chung's From Outer Space. It's an X-Files episode, and I made Emmy watch the scene where like Jesse Ventura plays the Man in Black in that scene. Yes. And they come out and they like intimidate this guy who's writing this book about his UFO encounter, and then we see them later on, and one of the other Men in Black is Alex Trebek.
Oh yeah.
And Mulder finally has this opportunity to have this tete-a-tete. So you've got Mulder, the true believer, who is a G-man, standing there across from Jesse Ventura's Men in Black, and he gets to sort of interrogating him a little bit, and he says, you know, one of the things they say about the Men in Black is they appear so strangely and intentionally act so strangely, so that if anyone ever reports their interaction, that they'll seem as though they're a crazy person. And then, of course, then he turns around and there's Alex Trebek as one of the Men in Black.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So my uncle actually wrote 3 episodes for X-Files, but none of the mainline arc. He wrote 3 one-offs.
The like Monster of the Week style episodes.
Yeah. I think one he did on the Wildman living in New Jersey, and I can't remember what the other 2 were.
Nice.
Not Home, right?
It could
that's
be.
The infamous like Texas Chainsaw Massacre like band episode that they had pulled from the airwaves for many, many years.
I don't know. I'd have to look up his IMDb.
That's fair.
I mentioned to him the other. I don't see him very often. I mentioned it to him like around Christmas or whatever, and he's like, I only wrote 3 of those episodes. I've done a lot of other stuff.
Listen, I've written so much. Why do you always bring up X-Files at family dinner?
Yeah, you see like he was the executive producer for like Pretty Little Liars, and he's like, you always bring up these 3 episodes.
But it's funny that you would mention that, you know, like in the episode of The X-Files, you know, all these crazy things happen so that the person describing it would just kind of come off as nuts. We listened to that podcast on the left today, and these next two people that we're going to talk about, Harold Dahl and especially Albert Bender, are
Yeah.
so strange already. And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
just no way that the things that these two do and their little, like, you know, gentleman's UFO club, there's no way any of it could be taken seriously.
And
Yeah,
that's supposedly what the men in black say. It's like, we're telling you because nobody will believe you. But it's like, why bother anyway?
In
You saw
the
Venus.
Savage World setting for Deadlands, the United States, the Confederate War, that the Civil War doesn't end, and this creates two countries in the United States. It actually creates four, but it essentially creates two major governments in the United States: the North and the South. And both the North and the South canonically have federal agencies. In the Union, it's called the Federals. In the South, it's the Texas Rangers. And their entire job, the description of each organization, is to make sure that the dead don't end up being recognized by normal people. So in the world of Deadlands, the barrier between, really simplifying it as much as I can because it's really deep and difficult to get into, but the barrier that separates the land of the dead from the land of the living is gone. So the dead can rise. All ghosty, goblin-y, vampire-y shit has come back into the world, but it's 18. It's just after the Civil War into the 1930s is when the game takes place. The main game's timeline takes place. It's kind of a Malifaux-ish world, I guess. It's whatever post Flintlock fantasy would be, Peacemaker fantasy, if you wanted to go with it. It's called the Weird West.
It sounds a little diesel
punk.
It's a mix between diesel punk and Weird West.
Okay.
But the entire point of the Texas Rangers and the entire point of the Federals is that they exist to make sure that mundane people do not know that the dead, that revenants, that harrowed, that vampires, that zombies are real. That's their entire job. So this like idea is so pervasive in our culture that it touches on all sorts of things. You know, television shows, video games, role-playing games, all of this. And I wonder, this was one of the coolest concepts that was brought up in The Matrix Reloaded that I really wish we had gotten more involved in. Because again, the agents in The Matrix are men in black, literally, is the idea that every iteration of the Matrix going back had a different version of the Men in Black. And that's when we're introduced to the Ghost Twins. That's when we're introduced to the dude that's very obviously a werewolf leaping all around that room during the gunfight. There's all of these like old myths. And the idea that Men in Black or something like Men in Black have always been with us, and our culture, our cultural lens that we view things for, changes this idea to modern times. So, you know, back in the post or the pre-Napoleonic era, everybody was afraid of werewolves and vampires. And then after that, into the Victorian era and the Edwardian era, there was this fear of like spiritualism and ghosts and Ouija boards. And now we've got this fear of UFOs and Men in Black. Is this all the same creature that we've been afraid of the entire time? Like, is it just adopting a new guise each time? I'm putting that out there.
And also the justification in the Matrix too was the reason why they had these supernatural qualities was because in previous versions of the Matrix they could break the rules of like the physics, and they found that drove people mad. So they like they've tried to make it more and more grounded as time has gone on.
Yeah. It's a really, and that kind of gets back to what you were saying, Chac, where do the Men in Black go back to the black men, as in
the black man, the devil,
black, from oh my god, Salem Witch Trials.
Yeah. So and also you get that comes up, of course, in H.P. Lovecraft and all. I mean, if you want to actually look at the why we have a fascination, it was the fear of communism and the overreach of the government that grew out of the Cold War.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where, and the truly unexplained things that happened in the 1950s, like the Washington D.C. UFO sightings. Where there you go, where there were multiple reports of UFOs over the White House, and they were scrambling jets and all.
Or the Battle of Los Angeles.
Yeah, so the Battle of Los Angeles. So it was, but what that comes down to is the fear of the unknown. And what you really get with the Men in Black is another manifestation of the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Whether that is our collective unconscious actually manifesting these individuals, or if it's a government agency that is preying on our fear specifically to bring these individuals forward and using them because they know of the fear that that they cast.
Or is it all? Like, is it a mixture of everything?
Yeah.
So to get to Harold Dahl, in 1947, Harold Dahl claimed a man in a dark suit warned him not to discuss his alleged UFO sightings on Maury Island. In the mid-1950s, ufologist Albert K. Bender claimed he was visited by men in dark suits, who threatened and warned him not to continue investigating UFOs. He maintained that the men were sent from a secret government organization tasked with suppressing any evidence of UFOs. Ufologist John Keel claimed to have an encounter with MIBs and referred to them as demonic supernaturals with dark skin and or exotic facial features. According to the ufologist Jerome Clark, reports of men in black represent experiences that don't seem to have occurred in the world of consensus reality. Historian Aaron Gulius wrote, during the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, UFO conspiracy theorists would incorporate the MIB into their increasingly complex and paranoid visions. John Keel has also argued that some MIB encounters could be explained as mundane events perpetrated later through folklore. So essentially, it was just something that happened, and then through the lens of folklore, it gets blown out of proportion. In his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, he describes a late-night outing in 1967 where he was mistaken for an MIB while searching for a phone so he could call a tow truck. And then we've got John C. Sherwood, who in his article, Gary Baker, My Friend the Mythmaker, claims that at age 18 in the late 60s, he worked with Gary Baker to develop a hoax that Baker called the Black Men, 3 mysterious UFO inhabitants who silenced Sherwood's pseudonyms identified as Dr. Richard H. Pratt. And then, of course, he went and wrote a book about it. So they made this hoax, and then later they wrote a book about it.
Oh, it's kind of like your 212 website.
Yeah.
Oh, good callback.
The best way, there's a guy that I really like on TikTok and YouTube called Minuteman, and he does a bunch of like archaeology based stuff. And one of the things that he's harped on a lot is like, of course, if you're trying to sell a book, make up a weird theory and then get people to buy that book. And like, this is
too big to walk. You guys gotta read about the dinosaur sex lakes.
One of my favorite guys he does podcasts and YouTube is Simon Williams, and he's like, the best way to sell books, it's really hard to sell fiction.
Simon Whistler.
So it's really hard to sell fiction. So what you do is you call it fact.
Yeah.
You write your fiction and say it's a real story.
Well, it's like a crap and a half. Anyway, I had a thing, but I lost it. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. True crime, right? Like this the seed that excites people about true crime, right? Is you start with, this is a true story. This really happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the number of movies that start with this is a true story that
aren't.
Yeah. Nobody. It's Blair Witch Project. Blair Witch Project proved that it made money. And even though Blair Witch came out, though the people that made Blair Witch came out and were immediately like, no, this is all absolutely fiction. Like they did not hide it. they did not.
They were all film students. They were all kids, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were. So they did clever things like made like fake wanted posters and put them up around Sundance. Nobody had ever done anything like that beforehand, right? That level of kayfabe, for lack of a better word, that commitment to that, like maintaining that fiction, right? And that, like, yes, like the lost footage thing is a real concept, like, you know, and selling it that way. They'd never done that before, but when they proved that, you're right, it was profitable because they spent what, $28,000 to make that movie and made $10 bazillion shortly thereafter. You know,
so I made a weird 50 Shades of Grey joke earlier, or tried to, in our Patreon segment, and the thing that really hits me as very strange is how little those movies were made for and how much money those movies made. Just to go on with that Blair Witch thing, just the amount of money some of these concepts make boggle the fucking mind.
Hey, X-Files had how many seasons of television and how many movies?
True. Yeah, that's 100% true.
And then the elephant in the room. I mean, in terms of like, so that episode that I talked about of the X-Files, Jose's Chungs from Outer Space, that came out in 1996. The year after, what did we get? 1997,
Men in Black,
the Men in Black film. So, you know, this concept went like
a comedy blockbuster.
Yeah,
and that's the film Men in Black, the film franchise Men in Black changed so much of the conversation of what Men in Black were at the time that it's almost, if you talk to people of a certain age or a certain interest level in the paranormal, they don't realize that Men in Black was a concept that predated the movie. And they don't see anything other than Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones in suits.
That's because it was a successful psyop.
Yeah.
it was based on a comic from 1990 and 1991 that had a limited run for less than a year. Right?
Really?
The comic was really, really well loved, but like had very limited distribution.
It's the first I'm hearing of it. So
yeah, the Men in Black comic book was like, I have it up here as well. Like the actual dates in which the original comic was published are like, and you know, it doesn't hold a lot of you know, it is not very similar to what we get in terms of like the modern style and presentation and flavor of the 1997 film. Like they took a lot of creative liberties, including making it like very, very comedic. Like it has like a funny edge. The original comic has a funny edge, but it's very different. You can see like obviously the looks of this is very dark, right?
Yeah, it's like more dark fantasy, more horror. That's cool though. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's I think to me, because like Men in Black live more in fiction than they do in I think they've outgrown almost their urban legend status. You know, they've become this sort of like massive thing. And the idea that, like, as you mentioned, that there's some kind of government agency out there protecting the world from the scary unknowable thing has become like a pervasive part of so much media, you know?
Yeah. Well, the wide picture that's painted by the Men in Black is, you know, government agents, either human or hybrid. We haven't even talked about hybrids, but yeah, there's a thread here to reptilian hybrids, people who work to keep us ignorant of a greater conspiracy. And the truth behind that is Majestic 12 was a thing that existed. MK Ultra was the thing that existed. We also look at the possible co-opting of extraterrestrial biological entities. So this would be meat and bones. That's the word. Yeah, meat and bones. That's a thing, right? Flesh and blood. That's what I wanted. The actual idea that there's a flesh and blood alien entity. It's not a robot. It's not a thought form. It's not a psychic phenomenon. It's an actual thing. Are the Men in Black 100% just extraterrestrials that are messing with us? That was a concept that was brought up a little bit more in the X-Files. It went through into the television Fringe, although I think in that case the MIBs were more extra dimensional because they were from the split universe. But there's this idea, you know, and then of course extra dimensional entities. Are these just things from a different universe. And that as Chac pointed out when we were doing research, that leads us into an entire other discussion about the Goblin universe, which for whatever reason has a tendency to come up almost every single time we do a Lorus Obscurus, which probably means it needs its own episode.
The Goblin universe?
Yeah. So the easiest way to describe the Goblin universe is when you put your keys down on the counter and then you go to get your keys from the counter and they're not there and you spend hours looking for your keys.
So like
And
lost
then you
dryer socks.
Well, but then you walk back out and your keys are exactly where you left them.
It's what it is that a lot of things what we call the supernatural are bleeding over.
Yeah.
This is actually there's actually no easy way to talk about the Goblin universe. Okay, the easiest way to think about it. So in two-dimensional space, a circle is a shadow of a three-dimensional sphere.
Mm-hmm.
What we see as supernaturals are shadows from a higher dimension that was named the Goblin universe. It doesn't actually have anything to do with goblins. Like they're not goblins stealing your socks. It was just a term that the originator came up with to try to explain the existence of basically extra-dimensional beings that are projected into our universe.
But because there's that bleed over when you lose something for a small amount of time and then it reappears. And that's why I don't use the sock example. I use the keys example. You lose your keys, they come back a couple of hours later. It's that they've left our universe and they're in the same place in the Goblin universe. And then the planes cross again and your keys get deposited back where they're supposed to be.
And so then part of the explanation is, well, that's how you talk about the fairylands, the fae, and you have all these things.
Okay.
And why does the Loch Ness monster exist but not exist? And all as you see from the picture of the book.
Yeah, the central conceit of the Goblin universe is that essentially that we have our three-dimensional universe exists, and there is another one that is encroaching on ours very slowly, and the chaotic interactions between the two of ours are unexplainable by us, and the sort of randomness attributed to it is meant to be sort of representative. The idea is that it is a goblin playing these pranks, or like it has this appearance of that because of the randomness and the unexplainable and unconceivable notion of these things acting upon us because they're coming from a universe that we can't perceive such huge portions of its interaction with ours.
Yeah, so like UFOs are not extraterrestrial; they're extra-dimensional. All this sort of thing.
Or UFOs may not even be a physical thing; it may be a thought construct. The Goblin universe is just like we did Bigfoot, listeners. In 3 or 4 episodes, the Goblin universe would be something that would probably be more than it would probably be like a 2-episode spread.
Yeah.
And this is again Men in Black. This is it. We're ripping the Band-Aid off of the iceberg, and the shoe is on the other table. And that's it. Those are all the metaphors I'm mixing today. We're not going to throw
the shoe is no
rocks.
longer a shoe.
Yeah, the shoe is now a plesiosaur.
Yeah.
Well, Men in Black encounters are often things that are associated with the Goblin universe because they are products of high strangeness, with the MIBs themselves being described as human adjacent. So even the way that they look, the way that they act, everything comes off as if something is attempting to act or appear human. Think of somebody cosplaying a human. That's kind of what you get. You get a human cosplayer.
They're a bug in an Edgar suit.
Yes. And because of that, people still have interactions with these all the time. And Chac did some digging and found a story on Reddit that outlines a pretty stereotypical Men in Black encounter.
Okay, so this starts off with the words, my MIB encounter. This is not mine. This is, like we said, we're taking it from Reddit.
Yeah, we found somebody's story.
My MIB encounter happened in 2004, and it's something that I'll never forget. A little backstory. Prior to the MIB incident, I went on a camping trip to Joshua Tree National Park with a few friends. On our last night there, we were looking at the stars while in front of a campfire. That's when I witnessed a couple of glowing blue UFOs in the night sky going at amazing speeds. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and my friends were equally amazed and mystified. I tried to take a photo with my flip phone, but the UFOs moved
to
too
ground
fast
it
for
in
me to get a
2004.
yes, moved too fast for me to get a clear image of them. It was on a flip phone. It wouldn't have been clear anyway. On our drive back home, we talked more about what we saw and were really excited about it. Not long after, I noticed a black car following me from a distance. I switched lanes to make sure that the black car was in fact following me, and sure enough, wherever I went, the car followed. Then when I glanced in my rearview mirror again, the car suddenly disappeared without a trace, which was really unsettling. My MIB encounter. The next day, after running a few errands, I started driving home, and when I arrived at my house, I saw a black Cadillac parked in my driveway. I tried to convince myself that it wasn't the same black car following me a day ago, but my gut feeling told me otherwise. When I got out of my car, two men in matching black suits, light gray dress shirts, black ties, and black fedoras. By the way, they're not fedoras, they usually wear Homburgs, just to clarify that.
I remember
But most
that
people don't
from
know the
that
difference.
episode. Mhm.
It's kind of like if you tell me one's a trilby and one's a fedora, I'm like,
Yeah, they're
Homburgs are
always
cool,
like,
fedoras
"Is it
aren't."
Trilby?"
Black ties and black fedoras approached me and asked if they could ask me a few questions about what I witnessed the night before. I asked them who they were and to see some credentials. They claimed that they worked for a division of the U.S. Air Force. Their appearance looked what I could only describe as plastic and expressionless, and they both had pale olive skin tone. They spoke in a raspy, monotone voice, and their speech was very precise, sounding almost synthetic. They also had a very cold and intense gaze. Some of the questions they asked were, can you describe what you saw that night? What do you think you saw? Did you take any photos of what you witnessed? Were there others who might have had a recording devices or cameras? Do you know if anyone recorded the incident? Have you spoken about this incident with anyone else who wasn't present with you that night? Did you find any unusual debris at the location you were that night? And would you be withholding any important information from us? Why, yes, sir, I am withholding important information with you.
all of it.
Yes.
I'm not answering any of your damn questions, sir.
Don't talk to cops. That includes the men in black.
Yeah. The only words
Exactly.
you say are lawyer.
Even if the cops are aliens.
Of course, I didn't answer most of their questions honestly, and I did withhold a lot of information as to what I saw and who I was with. They ended their questioning by strongly advising me to refrain from talking about what I witnessed with anyone and to forget the incident ever happened. They also strongly implied that they would be keeping an eye on me in case I decided to ignore their demands. After the encounter, I had this constant ominous feeling for a while and always looked over my shoulder wherever I went. I don't know who these men were or how they had knowledge of what I saw that night, but I believe that they were the men in black. Since that encounter, I've been really hesitant and careful about who I share my experience with, but I finally decided to share it here on this came from our humanoid encounters. Then it goes, edit. In the years following the incident, I've only had a couple of UFO sightings at night on separate occasions, but I haven't had any more visits from odd men dressed in black. Not yet, anyway.
And the credit of that goes to the user Midnight Sax. Emmy, you had a reaction there?
I noticed in a lot of these stories that between the UFO sighting and the actual interrogation with the men in black, and for some months thereafter, a lot of individuals who say that they came in contact with the men in black said that they feel like they've been watched, or they feel this ominous sensation of someone watching them for months between incident and contact, and again after their incident with men in black. So it is interesting how similar everything, and especially also the way that all of these people are in their own way kind of weird. Like, I don't think we went into it, but
We're
Alfred
even
Bender,
weird.
like Alfred Bender is a real weird dude, and he just wanted to make like a spooky haunted attic so that the girls at work would come over and scream
at rubber bats.
at rubber bats, and like he, grabbed like Halloween sound effects records and just played them, for his coworkers or whatever. So like everybody's weird, the encounters are weird, but we could say that the encounters are weird on purpose so everyone assumes that they're crazy, but that feeling of that intense feeling of being watched seems to be another like common element to every single one of these stories. I just thought that was interesting.
It's a very, very consistent, and of course, that whole kernel of truth, that whole percentage of truth that runs through a lot of urban folklore, a lot of urban myth is, the police and the FBI do watch people. That's part of their job. The CIA watches. I mean,
the freaking
this is all
Patriot Act.
Project Carnivore is watching us right now. Right now.
and we're those weird people. Like, we're not 8 self-published books in ufology weird. we're starting year 4 podcaster weird. But
yeah.
By the way, this is our first episode of season 4. So
Ooh, you're in the
Don't
pilot.
worry, guys. I already have a file, and I know I have a file sitting in some archives. So you don't have to worry about it. They're just watching me, not watching you.
I have friends that were married in the Mormon church in San Diego, the one that looks like a set piece off the Death Star. It's just painted white instead of being painted black. So I'm in that book. I've also been to one of the temples in Salt Lake City. So I'm in the Mormon book at least twice. And my DNA is on file with the government. So yeah. I'm sure somebody has the unfortunate responsibility to listen to my rambling on a podcast.
Yeah, they don't
for
care.
National security.
Listen,
but it makes me happy. Okay, I want to.
For years, I worked in an area that's sort of a hot spot of drug smuggling, and I have on multiple occasions had talked to a relatively junior, supposedly somebody at the U.S. Embassy there, which, by the way, has way too many radio antennas for sitting in the capital of Belize, of all places. I've been adjacent to. I am adjacently associated. Let's put it that way, with a private intelligence group, because they like to hire anthropologists, because anthropologists study people. The government does a lot of stuff, but you have to be pretty out. There are too many people like us out there, unless you have to actually push some buttons to get on somebody's radar. And luckily, this podcast won't do that. Now, the next episode might, but this one, no, we're safe on this one so far.
What do you mean the next the episode on the Cabal?
Oh, Cabal.
I'm so excited to talk about. I know his real name is John Grammaticus, but in my head, his name is Johnny Galaxy. And I was telling you about it this morning.
And he's just a flunky for the Cabal.
Zip-zopping around the universe.
Like, he is a very interesting and well-rounded character, but he's just kind of like the, like in every anime, there's that one guy who doesn't actually have any ninja powers. He's just good at karate, and that is John Grammaticus.
You said there was somebody who doesn't have any ninja powers, and I was really hoping you were going to follow that up with, but he does sell cabbages.
No.
See, unfortunately, that's gonna have to be Might Guy Sensei in Naruto, and all he does is wear like a green body stocking and do karate yells, and he has a really sick bowl cut, but he doesn't have any ninja powers. He's just Might Guy.
Yeah, like you've got some like guys who have like ninja superpowers that can like make you see alternate realities, or like experience time in a loop, or like conjure a planet from space and crash it into a town. This guy is just really good at karate. He just punches really hard and is really fast, and his kicks are really good.
You know, I
That's his
thought when you were
superpower.
talking about cabbages, I thought you were talking about the cabbage seller in Avatar. But
That's what- that's-
yeah, that's
yeah,
exactly
that's
what he was
right.
talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, this
you
guy,
know, John
all he can
Grammaticus
do.
features strongly in my favorite Space Marine book because it has almost no Space Marines in it.
Mhm.
If you-
Which one is that?
Alpha Legion. It's the
Okay.
Alpha Legion book, and it's titled something like Alpha Legion, but they just aren't in it. It's all about the some of the old 100 cohorts from Terra. So you've got what are the ones? What are the Lucifer Blacks and the Jesters and all? They're all in it. And yeah, there are a couple of times the Alpha Legion crops up in it, but for the most part, it's John Grammaticus and these random. I mean, they're highly trained. What do you call it? What were they? They're the they're the genetically.
Geno.
Yeah, they're the Geno warriors, the Geno 5.2, 5.3 or whatever. But that's why it's my favorite Space Marine book, because it doesn't have Space Marines in it.
All right, well, when I'm done with Blood Pact, I'll pick that one up.
And they're fighting a supernatural, somebody with like...
Geno 5.2 Kiliad.
Yeah, and they're fighting like a heavy warp using magic medieval society on a desert planet, and they're just getting rolled by these people who are whipping up like warp storms and giant lizards. That's great.
Because what else do you do, right?
Yeah.
But with all of that lore and backstory that we laid out for the Men in Black, how would a concept like the Men in Black fit into the world of Warhammer 40k? A place where aliens are known to exist and the government is actually actively working to silence everyone who is under their thumb. And I say everyone because the Imperium, it doesn't matter what you're talking about, they don't want you talking about it.
That's very true.
Ordo Obscurus file UR0196. Vox Cogitator Net Access, Ordo Obscurus, Inquisitorial Archive, Segmentum Obscurus, Carcosan Sector, Atlantis Sub, Classification, Vermilion, File Number OHOC3855-CARSEC-UR0196, Ordo Hereticus Octavian Creed, Object Class, Xenos Cryptoform.
Inquisitorial Containment Procedure, UR-0196, are xenocryptoforms often referred to as the listless eyes, and are to be remanded to specially constructed humanoid containment chambers lined with psychoreactive material to dampen any psychic emissions. The chamber is to be further equipped with a nullifying field projector, preventing the entity from utilizing their telepathic abilities. All personnel entering the chamber must wear full psychic shielding and undergo regular psychological evaluations to detect any potential psychic contamination. Destroying a UR-0196 listless eye poses a significant challenge due to its anomalous nature and psychic abilities, requiring a comprehensive strategy for its eradication. Shadowbreaker operatives should move to execute instead of contain. Procedure. Psychic Disruption Protocol. Utilize potent psychic nullification technologies or blanks to disrupt UR-0196 telepathic abilities, rendering it vulnerable to physical attack. 2. Psychic Amplification Array. Deploy a specialized array of psychic amplification devices to overload UR-0196 psychic defenses, causing internal instability and disintegration. 3. Psychic Seal Implementation. Erect a powerful psychic seal around UR-0196 containment chamber to contain its psychic emissions and prevent escape during the destruction process. 4. Anti-Xenos armaments. Operatives should be equipped with advanced heavy weaponry, blessed by the Ecclesiarch and sealed by the Emperor's light to enhance their effectiveness against UR-0196. Strategic Assault. Launch a coordinated assault on UR-0196's location, employing chamber militant forces, shadowbreakers, and specialized inquisitorial strike teams to neutralize the entity while containment measures are put in place. Operational Guidelines. Preparation Phase. Conduct thorough reconnaissance and intelligence gathering to identify UR-0196's weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Containment Reinforcement. Strengthen containment measures to prevent UR-0196 from escaping or retaliating during the destruction process. Psychic nullification precautions. Ensure all personnel involved in the operation are equipped with psychic shielding and undergo rigorous mental conditioning to resist UR-0196 psychic influence. Strategic deployment. Position operatives and assets strategically around the UR-0196's location to maximize the effectiveness of the assault. Coordinated assault. Execute a synchronized assault on UR-0196, combining conventional firepower with psychic disruption techniques to overwhelm its defenses and neutralize the threat. Post-destruction analysis. Conduct a thorough post-operation analysis to assess the effectiveness of the eradication strategy and identify any residual psychic contamination that may require further containment measures. By implementing these comprehensive procedures and guidelines, Ordo Obscurus operatives can effectively neutralize a UR-0196 or listless eye and eliminate the threat it poses to the Imperial interests and continued stability.
Description brief. Most encountered UR-0196 stand imposingly at approximately 2 meters in height, only its height setting it apart from any other normal human. Their human appearance is both timeless and extremely mundane, making it difficult for those who encounter one in this guise to provide useful, detailed descriptions. However, its form is both captivating and unnerving to behold once their human masks are shed. Their true form is a single disembodied eye floating in a translucent gelatinous substance holding a roughly humanoid shape. This eye is normally located in the head but moves about the body freely, fixing its irisless gaze upon the surrounding environment with an unsettling intensity. The gel-like substance surrounding the eye pulsates with a soft, iridescent glow, casting eerie reflections, seeming to shift and undulate in response to the entity's psychic emanations. UR-0196 exudes an aura of palpable psychic energy, and those who dare to meet its gaze report feelings of lethargy washing over them, as if their very essence is being drawn to the depths of its penetrating stare. The effect is subtle yet insidious, inducing a sense of disorientation and unease with all who come in contact with it. Furthermore, UR-0196 possesses formidable telepathic abilities, allowing it to delve into the minds of nearby individuals with ease. It can sift through thoughts, emotions, and memories with an invasive precision, leaving its subjects vulnerable to any continuing manipulation. The entity's presence within the containment chamber is marked by an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional hum of the containment systems and the faint whispers of psychic energy reverberating within the chapter's confines. Even in captivity, an UR-0196 exudes an aura of quiet menace, a silent sentinel observing the world with detached curiosity.
All right, so real question, guys. Is Octavian Creed a guy or a girl?
Oh, that's a dude.
Okay.
That's a dude.
All right. I came up with the name and I didn't associate anything with it, and then I heard it read and I'm like, oh, maybe this is a dude.
That's a dude.
No,
Yeah.
it is. Octavian is a male name.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Inquisitorial notes, transcript of events from the personal logs of Inquisitor Octavian Creed. During my investigations into the activity of the cult, the Blasphemous Forge, I came across a scattering of reports about a so-called blank man, originally dismissed as various loiterers or voyeurs by the Principal Arbites and Mechanican Warden reports. It had become clear later on, however, to local authorities on Miras 4 that the larger pattern was beginning to emerge. While it seemed unlikely to be linked to my investigations, several of the reports did coincide with known cult activity, prompting a need for a more thorough investigation than I felt the local authorities were currently equipped to handle. Accompanied by my task force and a detachment of the Katachan 210th Raging Devils, I pursued leads deep into the forge complex near the heart of Miras 4, increasingly drawn forward by whispers of psychic disturbance echoing from the near to the planet's core. It was here that I stumbled upon the most unsettling of scenes, as one of these blank men hung suspended in the air, a silent sentinel observing the cultists below with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. The cultists, oblivious to its presence, continued their dark rites, their fervent chants mingling with the eerie hum of psychic energy that had begun to permeate the air. It seemed I had found not only the stranger that had been plaguing the local law enforcement, but had stumbled upon some ritual of the blasphemous forge. Violence erupted across the chamber even as I spoke my orders and raised my bolt pistol. While I had hoped to take one of these vile cultists alive for interrogation, that proved to be but a fool's errand. Above, the entity's reaction was swift and calculated. With the fluid motion, it withdrew into the shadows, but not before a lay shot from one of the catachans found its mark. For one horrid moment, I gazed upon its true form, shredded of any lingering glamour, before it slipped our grasp like a phantom. Though our pursuit was relentless, the elusive nature of this creature and its listless eye defied our attempt to capture it, leaving us with more questions than we had answers. Addendum, Incident Report, UR-0196 Alpha. Determined to uncover the truth behind the listless eye, I continued to track its elusive trail into a labyrinthine cave system hidden deep within the bowels of Miris 4. It was there, amidst the echoing chambers, that we stumbled upon a chilling sight. The entity was now surrounded by several Xenos worshippers, radiating an aura of malevolent psychic energy, distorting very reality itself. My team was plunged into a maelstrom of hallucinations and confusion, struggling to maintain our sanity in the face of such overwhelming power. The will of the Emperor and his servants, however, prevailed, and I was able to overcome the foul Xenos worshippers and contain the entity with the use of my psychics. This came at a considerable personal cost, as all three of my bound witches were burned out in the process, requiring me to make new acquisitions of the black ships. Once detained, however, I transferred UR-0196 to the High Savant of Ordo Obscura Site Redacted. Accommodations were given up to the surviving members of the Catachan 210th, all of whom I've endorsed for inclusion into the Shadowbreakers. Incident Report, UR-0196 Beta. The aftermath of our encounter with the listless eye has been marked by chaos and uncertainty. Strange phenomena plagued the surrounding area, with reports of unexplained disappearances and erratic behavior echoing through the deep corridors of the Forge world, even as its horrid visage echoed in my mind for months. Faced with the looming threat of psychic contamination, we reinforced our psychic wards, hoping to contain the insidious influence of the entity before it could spread further.
Special Addendum, Inquisitorial Interrogation. Detainee, the Listless Eye. Interrogator, Inquisitor Octavian Creed. Interrogation brief. Ascertain origins and intentions of the Listless Eye. Begin log. Cogitator net 343.669.m40.
Inquisitor, what is your purpose here? Listless Eye. We observe. Inquisitor, who do you serve? Listless Eye. We serve the Watchers.
End log. Cogitator net 669-M40.
Closing statement. The true nature of the purpose of the Listless Eye remains elusive. Continued vigilance and investigation are required to understand the intention of these Xenos observers.
Inquisitorial Archive, Segmentum Obscurus, Carcosan Sector, Atlas Sub, Vox Cogitator Net Access, terminated.
That was my take, my Ordo Obscurus, on what the Men in Black might be in the 40K universe. And if you guys are interested, listeners, in helping us write future Ordo Obscurus files, we have a format. It's on our Discord. It's something that you can get quick access to. And this is essentially kind of our little attempt at a writing project like the SCP Foundation. These are all weird things that are happening in and around the Carcosan sector in Segmentum Obscurus, the Carcosan sector being the area that most of our homebrew cooperative lore building for 40K happens in. And we would love to hear other people's stories. You know, the way that a project like this, a community project like this flourishes is by people getting involved. And the first way to get involved is if you've got a story right off the bat, or if you have a question about the episode you just listened to or any of our shows, you can email us at underthehiveofmadness@gmail.com.
Yeah, if you'd like to join us for $3, $6, or $9, you get to see all of our lovely faces. You also get access to special contests, and we get to do. I think we still, as a Patreon members, you still get extra votes on things like the
Direction.
the
Painting
painting
contests,
contests and all.
etc. Yep.
So once again, $3, $6, or $9, preferably 9, 10, or 20. But
there you can join awesome patrons like Jack A, Lewis M, and Patrick P, and help us grow and expand. If you would like to help the podcast grow and expand as a listener, you can do that by writing a review or rating us on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Also, sharing with your friends helps a lot. Our home is right here on Spotify, but you can find us on Audible, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, and more. For my guests, their link trees will be down in the show notes, but Emmy and Drew, give us a little bit about yourself.
I am Drew. You can listen to Wooburg Radio, which is a new Magic the Gathering podcast on Spotify. That's where you can hear me most. You can also find me on TikTok. I am at D McMill or Droko Miximic there, and you can see me talking about Magic the Gathering stuff and some other fun, cool things, and some of my mini projects and prop projects and stuff.
My name is Coral Pecan. My primary platform is TikTok. In addition to TikTok, I am on the YouTube. I am on the Instagram. I create short-form vertical video content of a humorous nature.
And Chac, how can people find you around the internet?
You can find me at Chac Balam. My TikTok seems to quickly be turning into an anthropology and archaeology-based TikTok because I get millions of views on that, and I get 500 or 300 views on Warhammer stuff and model painting. But we're
Welcome
going
to the
to
club.
also, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube as well. Instagram is Chac Balam, and YouTube is, what is my YouTube channel? It's something like
Is it in your link tree?
It's in my link tree. It's the Grimdark something, not the Grimdark Garage because that was taken. It's something like that. So I have to see where my socials are going, but just follow me on my link tree. I'm all around the place.
We post spellings and links down in our show notes, and then most of you guys, I think with the exception of Drew, can all be found on our Discord as well. The Under the Hive of Madness Discord. So if you're not there yet and you want to be involved with these writing projects and some of the stuff that we do, or you want to know more information about us or Patreon, head over there. Underhive life got you down? No longer have the energy to outrun the administrative marshals like you used to? Always find yourself 1 cup of recaf short when it comes to the start of third shift? Red Squig's got you covered. Experience life on the last shot's edge. Red Squig gives you teeth. Overgrown mutant rats aren't the only unwholesome creature roaming this treacherous domain. Stay alert. Keep your blades at the ready. We are the defiant denizens of the Rebel Voxwave 665.66 UHMR Chemrat Radio, reminding all of you Chemrats, Hive Mice, and Sump Ghoulies to keep those dials fixed. Right here, same ratty frequency for a dose of the same ratty-ass attitude.
Children dear, heed this plea. In the Underhive's dark, stick close to me. Follow the rules, don't wander astray, lest the four-arm emperors lead you away.
And don't remember to not read a book. Wait, read a book. Read a motherfucking book. I haven't done read a motherfucking book.
Brush your teeth. Buy some land.
I'm glad you know where that's from.
I know exactly where that's from. Read a book. Read a book. Read a motherfucking book.
Sorry, the only thing rolling through my head was "Don't kill your neighbors."
your last sign-off advice was don't loot the bodies, and your current one is don't kill your neighbors. We got a theme going on.
The one that we always get up here is keep your stick on the ice.
There you go. Hey,
keep your stick on the ice.
Yeah,
we're definitely in that territory. All right, guys, have a good night.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Bye.